The deadliest creature in prehistoric history weighed less than a house cat. And no, I am not exaggerating. While everyone obsesses over dinosaurs the size of buildings and sharks that could swallow boats, something far more sinister lurked in the shadows of deep time. Something small, something horrifying, and something that evolution has thankfully erased from existence. Today, I am taking you on a journey through the most nightmarish creatures to ever exist, creatures that prove beyond any doubt that size has nothing at all to do with terror. Here is a psychological truth that most people never consider. When researchers survey what animals frighten humans the most, the results are shocking. It is not lions, it is not bears, it is not even great white sharks. At the top of nearly every fear study sits something that could fit in the palm of your hand: spiders, venomous snakes, scorpions. The largest spider on Earth stretches no wider than a dinner plate, yet it terrifies more humans than an elephant ever could. Our brains are hardwired to fear what can hide, what can sneak, what can strike without warning. Now, apply that evolutionary fear response to creatures that no longer exist, creatures that had millions of years to perfect their methods of killing, creatures that make modern spiders look like stuffed animals by comparison. Welcome to the Nightmare Zoo, where admission is free, but the memories will cost you your sleep. Let us begin in a land that still harbors more than its fair share of biological nightmares: Australia. The continent where even the cute and cuddly things are probably trying to kill you. Today, Australia is home to roughly 50 million kangaroos, which sounds almost charming until you realize what their ancient relatives were capable of. Meet Ekaltadelta, a creature that lived from the late Oligocene through the Miocene, roughly 25 to 5 million years ago. At first glance, you might mistake it for some kind of primitive kangaroo standing in that familiar hunched posture. But look closer. Look at the teeth. This animal was not grazing on grass. Embedded in its skull were specialized shearing teeth designed for one purpose only: slicing through flesh. But the true horror sat just forward of those meat grinders. Enormous premolars, sharpened to deadly points, jutting from its mouth like biological daggers. Paleontologists believe Ekaltadelta used these weapons exactly as they appear, stabbing prey to death before tearing into the carcass with those specialized back teeth. Picture this creature, no heavier than a pug, launching itself at snakes, birds, rodents, and other marsupials, those spear-like teeth punching through scales and feathers and fur. A carnivorous kangaroo relative that hunted in the forests of prehistoric Queensland, proving that Australia has always been the land where nature experiments with new ways to end your life. And yet, as unsettling as Ekaltadelta was, it at least looked like something recognizable. The same cannot be said for what lurked beneath the ancient waves. 486 million years ago, the Ordovician oceans covered much of the planet, and swimming through those primordial waters, hiding in the soft sediment of the seafloor, waited for creatures that make modern nightmares look amateur. They're called Scolecodonts, and if you've never heard that term before, consider yourself fortunate. Scolecodonts are the fossilized jaw pieces of predatory polychaete worms, segmented hunters that still exist today in forms like the infamous Bobbit worm. If you've seen footage of a Bobbit worm, you already understand why ancient oceans were places of pure terror. These creatures bury their entire bodies in sand, leaving only their sensory antennae exposed, waiting. The moment prey drifts too close, they explode from the sediment, their razor-lined jaws snapping shut faster than your nervous system can register the movement. The victim is dragged underground before it even knows it's been attacked. What happens in those burrows defies comfortable description. Now, here's what keeps me up at night. During the Ordovician, these predatory worms were not rare, they were everywhere. Thousands upon thousands of Scolecodont fossils have been recovered from every continent, indicating that these carnivorous worms swarmed ancient oceans the way flies swarm a summer picnic. You literally could not have swum anywhere without encountering them. And while most measured only a few millimeters in jaw width, some grew substantially larger. The biggest specimens suggest worms approaching 2 meters in length, over 6.5 feet of armored predatory terror hiding beneath every patch of sand, waiting for anything foolish enough to swim overhead. 2 meters. That's taller than most humans, and it was made entirely of segmented death, waiting to drag you into the darkness below the seafloor. But even these ancient worms pale in comparison to another ocean dweller, one that possessed the most devastating weapon in the entire history of life on Earth. Conodonts. Jawless vertebrates that superficially looked like modern lampreys, those parasitic fish that attach to larger animals and bore through their flesh. But conodonts made lampreys look like house pets. Their teeth, or rather their tooth-like structures, have been measured and analyzed down to the microscopic level. The results are staggering. Conodont teeth were 300 times sharper than human teeth. They were 25 times sharper than a butcher's knife. The tip of a conodont tooth measured 1/120th the width of a single human hair. These were the sharpest teeth that have ever existed. Nothing before or since has come close. Some species use these impossible blades to bore into the flesh of larger marine animals, drilling through scales and skin with minimal effort, feeding on blood and tissue like something from a vampire legend. And unlike the Ordovician worms that eventually declined, conodonts persisted for over 300 million years, from the Cambrian to the Jurassic, outlasting dinosaurs and countless other lineages. 300 million years of evolution, all dedicated to perfecting those razor teeth. Oh, and recent analysis suggests some species may have been venomous as well. Sleep well tonight. But prehistoric oceans were not the only realm harboring small-scale horrors. The land had its own terrors, and some of them could fly. Titanomyrma. The name translates roughly to giant ant, which qualifies as an understatement of the Eocene epoch. Discovered across Germany, the United States, and Canada, this ant grew to the size of a hummingbird. Let me clarify what that means. The largest workers stretched over 5 centimeters in length. Queens possessed wingspans exceeding 16 centimeters, 6 full inches of airborne ant capable of crossing significant distances. Close your eyes and imagine ants the size of small birds buzzing past your head. If that image doesn't disturb you, consider what these giants likely ate. Initial theories suggested Titanomyrma might have been a leafcutter, using its massive mandibles to harvest vegetation, but recent research points towards a far more unsettling possibility. Titanomyrma appears to be closely related to modern African driver ants, a living nightmare that marches in columns sometimes 20 million strong, stripping entire areas of all animal life, including animals that can't escape their path. There are documented cases of driver ants killing human infants and incapacitated adults. Modern driver ants achieve this despite being tiny. Now imagine armies of ants the size of hummingbirds marching through prehistoric forests, overwhelming prey through sheer numbers and size, stripping carcasses to bone before continuing their endless patrol. The mandibles on a single Titanomyrma worker were larger than the entire body of most modern ants. One bite would not just sting, one bite would remove tissue. But ants were only one branch of the insect nightmare tree. Allow me to introduce you to Roachoids, the predecessors to modern cockroaches, termites, and mantises. These creatures first appeared during the late Carboniferous, and while they superficially resembled the roaches scurrying through modern buildings, they differed in one deeply disturbing way. Modern cockroaches reproduce using oothecae, protective cases that contain their eggs.
Roachoids didn't bother with such civilized methods. Instead, they possessed ovipositors, elongated tube-like organs that they used to inject their eggs directly into food sources and substrates. Imagine biting into a slightly old piece of fruit or meat and discovering a roachoid infestation hatching inside your mouth. That was daily reality during the Carboniferous. And as if the reproduction method wasn't enough, roachoids regularly matched or exceeded the size of modern giant roaches, creatures that already spanned the width of an adult human palm. Many species could fly as well. But evolution was not finished experimenting with cockroach nightmares. Fast forward to the Cretaceous period, roughly 100 million years ago, and meet Manipulator. Despite its name, this creature was not named for psychological manipulation. It was named for what its body was designed to do: manipulate and capture prey. Manipulator was a genuine
Manipulator was a genuine cockroach, but one built like an assassin. Long, grasping legs, an elongated neck, sharp mandibles, and a head that could rotate freely to track moving targets. This was a predatory cockroach, a hunter that actively pursued and killed other creatures. If the idea of cockroaches being purely disgusting scavengers brought you any comfort, that comfort is now gone. Predatory cockroaches existed. Evolution proved they are possible. There is no guarantee evolution will not try again. Speaking of predators, let us return to the water, specifically the tropical rivers of Argentina 9 million years ago. Piranhas already terrify most people. Those razor teeth, those feeding frenzies, those documented cases of swimmers losing fingers and toes to swarming schools. Modern piranhas are dangerous enough, but modern piranhas are nothing, and I mean nothing, compared to Megapiranha. The largest predatory piranhas today measure roughly the length of your hand. Megapiranha measured nearly 30 inches, 2.5 feet of pure predatory muscle. Adults weighed approximately 10 kilograms, over 22 pounds. Your entire hand could have fit inside a Megapiranha's mouth, and that mouth was built for destruction. Biomechanical analysis revealed that Megapiranha possessed a bite force approaching 3,000 newtons. For reference, that exceeds the bite force of a full-grown Bengal tiger, an animal 30 times heavier. The teeth were designed with dual functionality. When biting soft tissue, stress concentrated at the razor-sharp tips, slicing through flesh like surgical instruments. When encountering bone or armor, that stress redistributed along the broader base, allowing the teeth to grind through hard structures. Testing with reproduced Megapiranha teeth demonstrated this fish could likely penetrate a cow femur, a turtle shell, and the bony armor of catfish with a single bite. Unlike modern piranhas that rely on numbers, Megapiranha was apparently a solitary hunter. It did not need a school. It did not need help. It simply bit through whatever it wanted to eat. Every creature I have described so far shared something in common. None of them would have towered over you. None of them would have shaken the ground when they walked. Most of them would have been easily overlooked if you didn't know what you were looking at. And that's precisely what made them so dangerous. The giant prehistoric predators, the Tyrannosaurs and Megalodons and cave bears, those creatures announced themselves. You would have seen them coming. You would have had a chance to run. But the small nightmares, the carnivorous marsupials with stabbing teeth, the worms waiting beneath the sand, the razor-jawed parasites drilling through flesh, the flying ants the size of birds, the predatory cockroaches, the piranhas that could bite through bone. These were the creatures that hid.
The creatures that struck without warning. The creatures that could be anywhere and everywhere at once. The next time you see a spider in your house, or a lamprey on a nature documentary, or cockroaches scurrying under a refrigerator, remember this. Our modern small nightmares are the diluted descendants of horrors far worse. Evolution has been merciful to us. The truly terrible small creatures are gone. At least the ones we know about are gone. If this journey through prehistoric terror kept you watching, you already know this channel delivers content worth your time. Hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell so you never miss an upload. And if one of these creatures genuinely disturbed you more than the others, drop a comment telling me which one, because I read every response and your nightmares fuel my research. Until next time, stay curious, stay fascinated, and remember that the most dangerous things in history were often the ones you never saw coming.